StarJammer.
Hello, this is your host, StarJammer, and this is a tutorial on RimWorld. It's a two-part tutorial, and I apologize right off the bat with the stuff at the top of the screen that shouldn't be there on yours. Apparently when you change resolution, which I had to do for my recording software, it buggers up the game something fierce. My cursor's not lining up with the buttons I'm clicking on, but try to bear with me. So there's a couple different scenarios you can have. There's a crash landed. You start with 3 people. Mediocre setup with parts and guns and stuff. The Rich Explorer, you get more silver to make purchases and trading. Lost Tribe, you get to pick 5 people. Really crappy silver and weapon setup, so I never really pick that. I usually pick a crash landed with the 3 people. The next step is to pick your storyteller. Now this is going to determine how often you're attacked, how often you're helped out with traders and such. And if you've looked at the reviews on Steam, for instance, 98% of the great reviews are simply because of the storytelling that is in this game. Goes into great amount of detail with characters, and the events that happen are quite comical at times. So it's not really a graphics type of game for, you know, eye candy. It's more of a storytelling, comical sort of setup where you're trying to reach the end game, which is not spectacular, by the way. And during that journey, you're having things happen that are quite funny if you think about it. So let's pick our storyteller. This guy down here, Randy Random, is pretty lethal for beginners. You're not going to have a very nice day for the most part if you pick any level of this guy. So I usually pick Fiobi Chillax and then pick the some challenges. Hit next. Seed. You just click on randomize seed, and I again apologize for the cursor not lining up. And then the size of the map, I just go up 1 from the standard 200 and 150. I do the 250, 180. Makes it a little more square. Generate. Now here you get this map that's like, okay, well, is this the map I'm playing on? No. This is 10,000 different maps that you could play on. You would zoom in and use your keyboard arrow keys to move around, and you pick the square that you're gonna have your map on, and it's randomized from these mountains or this plain. This one here, it's a temperate forest. You can see in the top left there. Down over here we have arid shrubland. I like going with the temperate forest, and I pick a mountain. Now the reason I pick a mountain, you'll see in a little bit, it's mostly for building purposes. It makes things a lot easier getting set up structurally. To defend it as well is a lot easier when you're just got one entrance versus they can come at you from any side. So that's what we'll pick. Now, picking your 3 characters, by selecting the different tabs, you have 3 different characters. They have different names, ages. The age in brackets is the cryogenic. So this one's been in a cryogenic chamber for 900 years. Accumulative, right? Because he's 44, but 900 of those 944 years are the only ones that he's awake for. It doesn't play any role in the game as far as that number. The age on the left does, where they could die off naturally. I've never had it happen. Usually it's some random event that kills them off. But the more important things to focus on are their skills, specifically shooting, medicine, growing, research, and maybe mining. The other ones are all just for show, more or less. So this guy, we're just going to randomize him by clicking on the, again, my cursor, but the randomize button here. So this guy's got some shooting, really good research. Do we have another researcher? No. So let's consider this guy. So I just went over the skills, right? I just looked at the skills. Now I'm going to look at his other things. So his health, yeah, he's got an old gunshot, but that doesn't mean anything. Fine. Incapable of. These things you need to pay attention to. And his traits. So the fact that he's gay and psychically dull means very little, unless you got a person that hates gay people. And again, like I said, these characters get into some depth, so these are things you need to pay attention to. Psychically dull means that he's not affected by psychic phenomena, and it does happen once in a while. So this is a good thing. Now, dumb labor, firefighting, plant work, mining. That's a lot of incapable of, so I don't think I want that person, so we'll randomize some more. Shooting, wow. 12 points. Okay, so again, because I've been randomizing, we happen to come across this female colonist that has a husband that I've already got lined up here, Ellie Finley. So let's go to Finley. This is her husband, apparently. And relations being plus 30 means that they'll freak out less and stuff because they got someone there as a relation. So the plus 30 is kind of like a buffer for bad things happening. It can also kind of be a bad thing if something happens to their partner, then they'd be really quite upset. So yeah, as you can tell just by the way I'm talking, the storytelling in this game is going to be 90% of the game for you. So this one's a pessimist. I don't think I like that. Normal mood effect, -6. Okay, good at animals. Social's kind of good to have because when you're doing trading or talking with space pirates through your comm system, social will decrease the cost and increase your sales when you're doing trades, which is quite important, and it does happen a fair bit. So having someone with even just the double flames, which means 150% earnings when you're using that skill, versus having one flame, it's 100%, and no flames means that you're only going to learn at 33% compared to someone with one flame beside it. So this guy here will be really good for your trading, your cooking, not that that's important, and training animals. So if you happen to tame animals, this will help you tame them as well. But I never have a tamer with no shooting skill because the really good tames, i.e. panthers and such, if you fail on a tame, sometimes they'll attack you, so you want a guy that can hold a gun. We need someone that's really good with growing and medicine now. Psychically hypersensitive. Yeah, no, we don't want that. See you later, Lyle. Okay, I'll come back here once I got my 3 chosen, but I think you've gotten the gist of what to look for, and I'll review the ones I pick. Be right back. Alright, so I think I found my 3 characters that are going to be my survivors. Now, I'm pretty picky about who I have for my 3 survivors, just because in my world I don't believe they're going to send a pyromaniac or somebody in space. But, you know, things happen. So this guy, I hope he's not blind because he's got a cataract in both eyes, his right and left, uh, and yet he's artistic. He's got a 100% learn rate, and it's artistic level of 11. He's also got some other really good traits here, like his fire, shooting, and melee and stuff like that. He's pretty, so yeah, no, it doesn't count. But the other guys, I got a 71-year-old sex slave here named Emily Young, and her torso's frail. Go figure. Old gunshot to left leg. These are unconsequential. Optimist, which is great. It'll help with, this mosaic. Oh, right. So this person wants to hurt themselves. They find joy in it, and being that they're 62 years old, that might not be so great. They're really good with a gun, though. So yeah, let's give her a go. So you crash land on this planet, and it automatically sets you up with a few things. Spacebar right away to pause the game. All of these things with red X's mean that they're not interactable. So double clicking on one will select the whole group and hit F to allow people to pick them up. We're not done yet in pause mode, so just leave it paused. Same thing with the silver. We can double click, hit F. There's a knife, pistol, survival rifle. Right away we go into the characters and click on the character tab. Find out who our best shooters are. So we have Jay, it's decent, right? The guy that likes to hurt himself is Steroid. How convenient. And Emily, which are shooting seal. Okay, so I guess Jay and Steroids carry the weapons. So tell Jay, right click on the rifle, by the way. And again, I'll apologize for the mouse. So right click on the rifle, click on equip survival rifle. So he's going to do that as soon as we unpause. Steroid will give him the pistol. Click on the medicine, hit F so that people can interact with it. Same with a knife. What'll happen is when people have the time and they've had the ability in the work tab down here to if they have the hull ability checked, they will move, turn cursor, move those things when they got time in their schedules to move those things. Now other things on the map also have red X's, and this double click thing only works for the items in your view at that time. So that's a bunch of steel that we can collect later, and some wood. That's good, we'll have that too. Some more steel over here. Interactable, yes. Let's pick our base site. So I picked a mountain region, which means there's a lot of these areas here that look like they're grayed out or browned out in this matter. And that's the mountains. So there's a great big mountain region along the north side. And a little opening here and a larger one here. So what we're going to do is we're going to fortify this smaller opening, have our base inside of here, and have all our defenses with an opening on this end. So let's get started, and we'll set up some orders in the architect tab at the bottom, and we're going to click on mine, and we're going to select an area into the mountain to mine our first few bedrooms. I like to do 3 wide hallways, no particular reason, but and I'll do a 4x7 normally bedroom. So I did 2 entrances on this bedroom. one for a door and one for a vent, shown here. Now, we have to set up the work profiles to figure out who is going to be mining. Only one person? Why is that? Let's check out their skills. So Jay has mining of 2. Steroid has a mining of 5. So they both should be miners. They all should, yeah, so they all have the ability to mine. So why it goes and selects one person to mine, I'm not sure. But let's go and select this manual properties and start setting this up properly. So whenever you get a new colonist, you're going to want to do this every single time. I feel your pain already, but this part of the game, your colony works much better when these are all set up nice and proper. So firefighting, if the priority is set to 1 and it goes left to right, so the priority is set to 1, they're going to do the firefighting whenever there's a fire that breaks out. It's not shooting. The shooting comes into play when you actually select a character and then draft them. Now you can tell them, okay, I want you to, and again, or double clicking on these characters up top, will bring it right to them. So if I wanted Emily, who I've got under draft right now, to shoot steroid, I just right click on them and select shoot at steroid, but I'm not going to do that. Getting back over here to these priorities, everyone should be able to firefight right away if there's a fire that breaks out. The doctors obviously should be the people with the doctoring or medicine skill. So steroid is one of them. They can all be doctors, but we want Emily to be our primary doctor. Now, when you have a crafting level down near the bottom there of 6 and a medicine of 10, I believe, you can start crafting your own medicine later in the game with a drug lab. So we're going to have her become our primary doctor so that her medicine skill goes up quicker than the other guys. And we're also going to give her crafting tasks so that she increases her crafting whenever she has a chance. So go back in the work tab, and under doctor we're going to have Emily as number 1 doctor, and then these other guys as priority 2 doctors. Being a patient should be always priority 2. Bed rest, priority 2. Flicking, all should be 1. It's flicking is turning the power off of an object or turning it on. I usually have all my turrets set up on a switch so that they're not draining power when they're not needed, so flicking is a high priority. Handling, we don't have any pets right now, I don't believe, so we can look at that through the animals tab, and we do have a husky. Okay, so I'll get into that in a moment. Back to the work thing. Alright, since she's not a shooter, we will not have her doing any animal stuff because she can't defend herself against wild animals. So we're going to have Jay doing all of her animal handling, I think. No, steroid, because he has an increased learning for animals and shooting. We're going to make steroid our handler. Warden, if you capture a prisoner and want to recruit him, and the listed there is what the wardening does, but you want that person to have good social skills, so that'll boost that wardening. How are we with social? It looks like Emily's gonna be it, yeah. So make Emily our smooth talker. And this wardening bit, it takes 2 seconds to do, so we can have that as priority 1 and not worry about it bogging up anything else she's doing down here. And we already said that we wanted her crafting quite a bit, so we'll put her as priority 2. Hauling and cleaning. except for Emily, who's our primary doctor. We're gonna have them all priority 1 hauling and cleaning. Because Jay has decent artistic skills, and that's why I picked him. He's gonna be sculpting a lot, which will generate us income with traders if we have the ability to sell our sculptures. So we're gonna leave him with that and have Steroid on the research bench at some point. So Steroid is going to be our researcher. Jay's going to be our backup. Mining. Everybody should be mining. Actually, let's put those to priority 2. Not 1, because it's only temporary. The mining bit, once the job's done, they can go back to whatever they normally do. Growing. We need to figure out who our grower is, because that needs to get done ASAP to allow us to have food for the next season or over the winter months. I think Jerry and Steroid will both have firearms, so we'll both make them hunters. Construction, the skill doesn't matter so much as others, because if they fail at constructing, they just use up some materials. Holding the cursor over top of these slots on each of these guys' names will bring up their skills. It calculates between the skills what the average effect is. So Steroid's going to be our primary repairer. Our grower. Someone had decent growing. Jay doesn't have a boost to it, so a growing of 8 will allow you to plant heal root, which is like a medicine that becomes very important quite quickly in the game. So growing, so let's hope our researcher's J. It is not. Alright, looks like we're going to have Steroid as our grower. And researcher, which is not a great combination. We need to free him up. We're not going to make him a cleaner. Hauler maybe. Shoot. Just make him a plant cutter. No, I can cut plants as well. Alright, I think that's everything. Smithing. That's for making guns and stuff later on, or swords for melee. So that's the work tab. Went through that pretty thorough. Restrictions. This is if you want to restrict their sleeping patterns or when they have fun. I like to give them random times of joy that are mandatory. Kind of split it up between the day. Just so that they don't have a mental breakdown if they forget to have fun. Assignments. I go into here now. I didn't used to, but ever since they introduced drugs in the games, I go in here and make sure that every colonist, and when I get new colonists, I make sure I do this as well, select no drugs under the drug policy bit here, and that's under the assign. Animals, it shows you the list of animals that you have. Now, you can also do this on the animals character tab. If we select on the animal here, or training here, you have obedience, release, rescue, haul. The release is if your base is under attack and they've had obedience trained, and it's 0 to 1 still. I just selected it for being a thing to train them in obedience. And I want them to be trained in release, so that if I get attacked and they have a master and they've got release trained up to 2 or whatever, they can be released during combat. So if Emily was their master and I had her drafted, there would be another button right beside it for release animals. And what will happen is the dog will start to attack the attackers. The problem is if you have shooters in the area, they can mistakenly hit the animals in combat. So if you're going to do this, be sure that you're in a melee fight and there aren't turrets on and stuff like this in the area. It can pose a problem if you do. Alright, so now the next step is to set up our storage area, aka stockpile. So you go into zone area in the top right of the architect and select stockpile zone. Now we want a relatively large area and we don't want to block this geyser here, which is going to prove 2 geysers. Nice. That'll prove to be useful later with geothermal power. So let's put our stockpile close to that wall that we're going to make. Over here somewhere. Like so. Like I was saying, it's going to be relatively large. So when you click on it after you've placed it, you can delete it with the delete button there. Or click here at storage. And you're going to be checking these zones out using that button on the top quite often. So in the chunks it shows red that it's not going to be allowing any chunks. Well, we do want chunks. We want stone to be in storage and steel slag, because steel slag can be smelted down to steel later on. Under the corpses area, we want animal corpses to be there, not humans. And mechanoids, yes. Mechanoids you can melt down or disassemble later on as well. They're a type of opponent on raids. It's a random occurrence. Human-like corpses, we're going to bury them with improper graves or cremate them, and that comes later. Everything else, yeah, we're good. Rotten? No, we don't want rotten. The priority comes into effect if you have multiple storage areas. This button here, and you can select it and select critical to say that if I have a storage over here that's normal that says medicine, and this one's set up as critical at the top, and it also has medicine, all the medicine will fill up the remaining open spots in this area before it'll go to the other one. So that's that. And once we hit go here on the bottom right, they will get to work, and they're doing their work according to the priority schedule that we set up in the work tab. I like to run my game at super fast speed or stopped using spacebar to toggle between. And once they're done digging out that hole in the first room, we'll put a bed in there, and that is under architect like most things, and in furniture you can select bed. So now it gives me the option of steel, wood, silver, so I want wood. So on the left there it says 35 wood, which I don't have. Well, you would think, yeah, I got 35 wood, look at all of it out there. It has to be in the stockpile over here before it counts as being in your inventory. That doesn't mean that you can place the order like so to build that bed. So now once we have the wood, the 35 wood, somebody will come by and construct it. And since I've queued up that construction on the bed, once they get a free moment, they're going to realize, hey, we need some wood in our storage, and they'll go and fetch this stuff that I unlocked earlier. Let's unlock this stuff as well. Now we can chop down wood by, or gather wood I should say, by cutting down trees under the orders in the architect menu and select B or chop wood. And just like placing the stockpile, we click and drag a square area and all the trees highlighted there will be cut. And you can see the order to have those trees cut with the yellow scissors there. I don't know if you can see that very well. And our first night, everybody's sleeping outside except Steroid. Okay. Now if we select their character and look at the needs button right here, you'll see that they're uncomfortable, slept outside, blah blah blah, all these negative effects. There's also positive effects: new colony, optimism, 8 fine meal, blah blah blah. So the 8 fine meal is going to go away once we run out of food. Same thing with the new colony optimism, I'm sure. So we need to get beds and solve all these red ones to keep them happy. The joy button under architect, first thing you can do is place horseshoe pins, wooden ones. It's pretty cheap and gives them something to do during their joy time. So we have an unknown bed, so tonight when they sleep, and I'm pausing it again, someone will own that bed or lay claim to it and sleep there tomorrow night. Now I'm putting a vent here. This will come later, typically in the summer months. I know it's 7th of spring here in the game. On the bottom right, 7th of spring, it goes to 15. So you go to the 15th of summer before fall, etc., etc. Sometime during the summer months, you're going to have a heat wave where wherever your cursor is on the map, it'll give you the temperature on the right side of the screen. So right now it's 24 degrees outside. Now, if I have the cursor on the inside of my structure, it still says outdoors because I haven't put up doors or to seal anything in to indicate this is a structure that's indoors. So we're gonna queue up some more mining orders and get some more beds rolling here so that we have an indoors. As you can see, someone's using the horseshoes there. And if you look at his needs, we would have caught his joy going back up from whatever it was to 100% now. Some of these things like ugly environment and darkness can be solved. Well, the ugly environment is the fact that it's clean or not clean, or rather, and it doesn't have proper flooring. So this hall things will tell them to take all these marble chunks and such to the stockpile. It'll fill up the stockpile pretty quick if you consider, you know, we got this many chunks to haul over in this short period of time just by mining out a few rooms. The stone cutters research. We have to have a research spend. Yeah, okay, whatever. Stone cutters one on the top here. That'll allow you to start creating cut stone. So these chunks don't count as stone when you're doing your trades or your construction. It only counts when it's been used at the stone cutter's bench, which you need to research. This concludes our first part of our 2-part tutorial on RimWorld.